The open beta for Epoch WoW is finally over, and it went out with a bang. Or should I say, a bunch of sand. This is going to be what I think about the first open beta for Epoch WoW. I'm going to be discussing first what the beta had available to test, or that I noticed, followed by some of the bugs that I encountered, then some things that I think they could improve upon just from the beta alone, not adding in crazy stuff, that could be for later. I'm talking about specifically for feeling better in the areas that we got to test within the beta. Moving over now to some footage of me playing the server, first I'm going to be talking about what the beta had available. The first thing that you're going to notice when you log in there are some custom quests and even revamped quests. One of the bigger ones that I noticed was Mankrik. Everybody knows who Mankrik and who his wife is, or was rather. Anyway, in this server, Mankrik's quest chain is completely overhauled. Now, instead of hunting down 60 Quillboar, you only have to hunt down Centaur, as they are the ones who not only raided his village, but captured her. Yes, captured, not killed. Supposedly, she's still alive and we have to go out and find her. I'm not going to be spoiling anything else other than that, though. Some other things you're going to be noticing is, especially in the starting areas, there are a lot more elite quests and even elite NPCs that are roaming around. The first one I found was in Senjin Village to kill an elite mob in the Echo Islands. Speaking of revamped, there are also 2 revamped dungeons. The dungeons themselves are still in the same locations and are still the same theme, but the layout when you enter inside are completely different, including the mechanics of the bosses. Those dungeons would be Wailing Caverns and the Dead Mines. Now, there were other dungeons that you could do while in the beta. However, the layout are all the same and the bosses are pretty much the same as well, though several of them did have new mechanics. So every single dungeon has been touched from a little bit to a lot, with Wailing Caverns being the most extreme change out of both of them. Both of the major faction cities have both gotten new areas. In Stormwind, they got the docks. Of course, this is the docks that we got in Wrath of the Lich King and so on, so not completely new, though there are some new things in the docks, so not completely the same either. However, in Orgrimmar, they have a completely new area carved out of the mountain to the east, just below Valley of Honor. It's really just a staging area for Zeppelins, as the Zeppelin towers have been moved here, but also there's more room to host new Zeppelins if they ever decide to add new Zeppelins for new locations. Same thing with the docks in Stormwind. There's areas there for boats to go out into new areas whenever they decide to do that. Something a bit more familiar that you've seen on other servers, as well as, I believe, Remade Classic or Classic. It was whatever they just came out with from Blizzard. But there's going to be a hardcore mode that you can opt into. So basically a one life mode, but if you manage to complete one life mode, you'll get a lot more reward for your risk. Though while the hardcore mode has been seen on other servers, something that is completely unique to the Epoch WoW server is what they call Epoch Time. Now, everyone is familiar that there is a day and night cycle in World of Warcraft. However, that's just a 24-hour cycle. Here, it is a 3-hour cycle. And the reason behind that is, in the live game, there are changes between night and day, as far back as vanilla, and even some in other expansions, though you don't see that anymore from recent expansions. One of the examples is in Westfall, there's patches around, or graveyards. During the day, there will be vultures, but at night, there are zombies. The 3-hour cycle is that you could see both of the changes within one play period. I'm going to be playing you a clip now of me actually watching as Worgen turn into humans from night to day. I'm only going to be playing for like another half hour. Oh, here's the Worgen. Oh shit, they're all elite. Oh, look, they just changed. They just changed. We made it on time. Oh, that was so cool. There are also brand new creatures that are not in the original vanilla. Some creatures are going to be specifically for the nighttime or the daytime that were not originally in vanilla. Also, there are just some normal ones that will be there at all times. The first one I saw were that they added raptors in the Valley of Trials. What? Hang on. What? They added raptors to the starting area. Though I won't be able to go on long without telling you that you can play as also a dwarf shaman or an undead paladin as well, though you will not see any Draenei or Blood Elves. So the undead paladins and the dwarf shamans are the only races that will be able to be such on each faction respectively. The professions have all gotten new crafting items to allow you to acquire blues at lower levels. However, they are going to be a little bit harder to craft than just regular crafting items. You will require more rare materials in order to make them, obviously, though the fact that we can make them is still a nice touch. Though even when it's not professions, there are a lot of new unique custom items that you can find. And last but not least, what I want to talk about is this runs off a 3.3.5 client. Now, while they are mostly making it to the vanilla state, with some TBC influence, there is still some Wrath of the Lich King influence. What I noticed was that there are more graveyards in the zones, so if you die, it's not just the same one graveyard in every zone, there are multiple ones. And another thing that I noticed that was specifically added in Wrath of the Lich King was different quest tracking. Now you could track more than just 5 quests at a time. Also, the bug when you turn in a quest and it still thinks you're tracking it, that's completely gone. So I feel that's really nice quality of life that we have gotten from this. Now for the bugs. Now I will point out real quick that these are bugs that most of which have been fixed during the course of the beta. So most of these no longer exist from making this video, but I do want to point them out anyway, just to tell you that really, all in all, it was not that bad considering that this was just a beta and it's just a few people working on the server, you know? The first one that I encountered was that there was a weird fatigue zone in the Echo Islands. All of the water around the Echo Islands was a fatigue zone, so it was very strange. However, that was patched out the next day. Something else that I noticed were that some of the elite creatures had normal mob stats, which meant I could have basically soloed the elite mob as if it was a normal mob, though that too has also been fixed. One that did not get fixed from the last day that I've noticed were animations getting stuck. Now, on your screen, your character would be completely fine, but another person's character would be stuck in a running animation or some other animation on your screen, and the same would go for your character onto their screen, and that was continuing on through the entire beta and was still not removed as of the end of the beta. However, I'm pretty sure that is something that will be easily patched out later. Another thing that I noticed, and this was on the last day, so it was not fixed as of the end of the beta, but most likely will be by the time they come out with the second beta, is that there was a custom quest within Silverpine Forest where the quest dialogue was different than what actually happened in the quest. For example, you had to gather body parts from various enemies in the zone. They said one enemy would drop arms while another enemy dropped the legs, when in reality it was the opposite. The undead were the ones who dropped the arms, and the Murlocs were the ones who dropped the legs, even though it was written the opposite in the description. And the last bug that I wanted to tell you about was that the flight path in Ogremar on the tower was flashing all in and out, and it was kind of disorienting at times, but I'll show you here. And now for the last part of my video, here are some things that I think that they could do to improve the starting zones of their server. One is the one that I have been talking about throughout my streams. They really need to add way more custom content to the level 1 to 10 zones. In other areas, I don't care what they do, they could do whatever they want, but in order to hook people in, which is the most important thing for people trying this server, they need to be hooked from the start. I think there needs to be more custom content, more questing hubs, and something to really say, this is a unique server, play us. And if you continue to play us, you will see even more cool things. I did not really get that when I first started my character. Yeah, I saw raptors in Valley of Trial, and ooh, there was an elite in the Echo Islands, but that's not really enough to hook somebody who doesn't really know anything about this server at all. All they see is the exact same game they have been playing for years with 2 new mobs, you know. So when comparing it to Turtle WoW has not only a ton of new custom quests, but also there are several hubs in each of the respectful starting areas, including quest chains and all this type of unique content. If they want to be a competitor to Turtle WoW for a custom vanilla zone, they really need to up it a little bit when it comes to the level 1 to 10 zones in order to hook the players who join their server. Something that's a little bit more personal to me is I would like that the mining profession be able to gather all of the metal in one swing rather than having to pick at it 2 to 4 times each node. This is the only gathering profession that you have to do this. As herbalism, you just grab and go. You don't do that with mining. Now this was changed in, I believe, Wrath of the Lich King, so they have the capability to add this in, and it would be a really nice quality of life if they did add that for the mining. Now I talked about adding content to the 1 to 10 zones, but while I was playing, I noticed that they added reputations to the primary questing hubs of the secondary zones, being the Sepulchre and Aberdeen from Darkshore and Silverpine. Now, I thought this was a very nice little extra thing that they added, because while there are custom quests, as you just progress naturally through the zone, your reputation bar goes up. And by the time you're done questing in the zone, you can easily be exalted. And by hitting exalted, not only do you get access to several really nice starting gear pieces, but also pets and companions, and there could be a lot more added to this list. I think they should add that for all of the secondary starting zones. Now, I think I know why they did that is because those 2 zones are the least played out of all of the secondary zones, and it's a way to get people to play them more, but I felt that it was just a neat feature overall, and the fact that you could have different rewards for playing each of the zones. I mean, some person might want the child of a Rugal rather than, let's say, I don't know, a baby Kodo or something as a pet from doing the Barrens. Even maybe like a baby Black Lion that you get that represents Humar the Pride Lord. I don't know, but maybe somebody would want that instead of the Worgen, or they would want the Worgen and the Lion or Kodo or whatever. So it'd be a reason to play both, or just the one that they want the most of. Though on that note, by playing to completion both zones, you're going to be out-leveling them fairly fast and not really get any benefit from it other than just a pet. So I really think that they need to look into what Turtle WoW does and allow you to gain reputation from gray quests at least up to 10 to 15 levels past the required level of the quest. That way, for all these zones that they're adding this custom content to, if somebody outlevels a zone but they still want to see the custom content, they can go and play it without losing anything, without losing any progression, and they can still gain from it. I think they really need to look into that, and it would be a benefit overall. During the last few days of the beta, they added this event system where random portals would spawn all over with dragons, and you could kill them to get rewards. I think this was a test for maybe random events. If not, they really should consider using this type of system for random events. Have it so every couple of hours or so, something will spawn, and it could be a random wild boss. Well, of course, that would be more like a rare, because that's technically what rares are, but maybe have other types of events that you could do. Maybe a caravan escort quest. After all, those already existed in World of Warcraft if you look at Desolus. Every so often, the goblin will be either at the southern end or the northern end of that demon area, and he will ask for aid for everybody in the zone, and then you can go and start his escort quest. If they added things like that, like maybe helping a goblin and his Kodo get from Ashenvale down to Crossroads, or vice versa, something like that, even maybe a random wave of enemies that could be representative of whatever NPCs are nearby, and they would rush maybe your faction's warriors waiting for them. Think of it like I know I'm using a lot of terms from the Barrens. I'm primarily a Horde player, so this is more my experience that I'm drawing off of. But in the Barrens, the Centaur quest that you gather from the tent just south of the Forgotten Pools, they have that area where all of the Centaur are rushing the Horde members trying to defend against them, and then you get that one quest to help them defeat them until the leader comes out. Have those kind of events, but more often, and it happens every so many hours. Then when you defeat the final boss or whatever, you can get a cool reward for doing so, and maybe an experience boost as well. And that would encourage players to all come and join the random event for those rewards and the experience. And the last little bit of input that I would like to add is, this is again something that I'm drawing from Turtle WoW, but I think they could do it in Epoch WoW in a unique way if they choose to. But sparingly, I'm not saying put this everywhere, but sparingly, I would like some sort of carriage service for the faction-only zones. And by faction-only, I mean like Durotar Barrens, Elwyn, Darkshore, stuff that would be considered Alliance only or Horde only, which basically means the primary and secondary starting zones. Now, not everywhere needs this, and some places should not have it for that explorative factor. However, there are some areas in these zones that almost require you to run back and forth a very long distance. And instead of putting a flight path, which I don't really like the flight path, have a type of carriage service that you could pay silver for, and it would basically fast travel you to that area a little bit slower than a mount speed, but faster than walking speed. So the areas I'm primarily talking about is in Elwyn Forest, when you go to the Eastvale logging camp. Now, for players who do know, they can go there, do it all at once, and then come back if they set it up properly. Though there are going to be times where you're going to have to go back again and come back to Goldshire. Then, if we go back to the Barrens, I can count at least 2 areas where you have to do this. Actually, 3. One would be the Southern Barrens, having to run back and forth from all the way down at the southern tip back to Taraho, or there's a ton of quests in Ratchet that require to go to the very northern end where Ashenvale is. Then you would have to finish those quests, go back to Ratchet, and then go back up north again, basically making that trip at least 2 to 3 times. Another one is going all the way to the border of Stone Talon Mountain and the Barrens. There's that little area where there's 2 quest givers, and they make you go deep into Stone Talon Mountains, and you have to keep running back and forth, and I basically, anytime I get those swiftness potions, I save them for those quests because it's just absolutely terrible. So for areas like that where they require you to run back and forth multiple times across a long distance for 1 quest chain, 2 quest chains, I really think those areas, again sparingly, should have some sort of caravan system to make it a little bit more bearable. Overall, not that many bugs, and the few bugs that there were either patched out or not that big of a deal to begin with. There is a lot there already, a good foundation for this server to build off of, and I know they said that they have a lot more they plan to add to the existing zones that we already went through in Beta 1, and of course in the final zones that we have yet seen. So there will be a lot more than what we've already seen from this beta, but as it is right now, it is a good foundation. Like, this server does have the potential to be an amazing server, and I am still hyped and waiting for them to finish it. I have gotten requests to make comparisons between Turtle WoW and Epoch WoW, and while I did use Turtle WoW as examples in some of my descriptions earlier in this video, I don't think it's necessary yet to do that. I know a lot of people want to know, you know, which should I play, this one or this one? Really play on whatever you want. But I know there's those people who want to know which server is the right one for them because they only want to play on one server rather than 2 or 3, and that's completely fine. But I am not ready yet to make that comparison. It's just not the right time yet. When this server is closer to being finished, or when it is finished, then I will make that comparison. Other than that, I think that the Epoch WoW team has done a great job, and I am looking forward to Beta 2, which I will be playing. So I will see you then, and in the meantime, I've already posted a video of just all the highlights from the various streams of playing on this server. Go away, Discord, and I've also cut out a video for just the dungeons, the revamped dungeons, Wailing Cavern, and Dead Mines. Another video that I plan on making a little bit later, but it will be coming out relatively soon, is going to be just a compilation of all of the things that the developers have said in the Discord for answering questions on, will you have this for the suggestions tab, or anything that they said that there will be in the server but not yet in the beta, or, you know, stuff like that. I want to compile that all together because, you know, not all of it is in a big list. I'm gonna have to go through and search for all of it, which means there's gonna be a lot of stuff that I'm going to be finding out, and if I don't know most of it, sure as hell you guys are not going to know, because like I said, it's not listed anywhere. There's just random posts here and there. I'm going to go fish through, find all of them for you. So if you want to see that, hit subscribe, like this video, more Epoch WoW. I am going to be doing more Turtle WoW, do not worry about that. Some other servers in the future, but for now, until we get new stuff from any of these other servers, I'm just gonna go play Wrath of the Lich King Classic for now, because I'm still level 70, so yay! Anyway, I'll see you later.